All right, welcome to everybody who's joined so far. My name is Caroline. I am on the board here at DBSA California. Welcome to our DBSA Third Thursday event. We are very honored to invite Sandra Steiner to speak with us today. Sandra is written above Sandra has risen above the challenges of multiple mental health hospitalizations to become a successful fitness professional, motivational speaker, author, mother, and advocate living with bipolar. Embracing her quirks and challenges, Sandra considers herself to be thriving-ish, never fully out of the woods, but always walking or pedaling her bike on a sunny path on the edge of the trees. Tonight, she will be taking us along on her story of hitting rock bottom. After years in and out of the hospital, self-harm, ECT, and unable to work, her turning point started with a personal training course, and the healing power of movement began from there. You'll learn what kinds of exercise work best, why they work, and how to get started, even when depression is doing its best to hold you down. Sandra, with that, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. You actually did such a great job introducing me that I don't need to introduce myself. So I'm actually going to start with a question to you all. And by a show of hands, whether they are real hands on screen or virtual hands, how many of you have ever felt mentally better after exercise? I'm seeing hands go up. Nobody's giving a thumbs down, right? um, yeah, we never regret a workout, right? The hardest part is getting started with it. There is a quote that I love by Dr. Wendy Suzuki. She's a neuroscientist and an author of Healthy Brain, Happy Life. And her quote is, exercise is the most transformative thing you can do for your brain today. So I don't know. Somebody who came on said that they were dressed in their workout clothes and going to work out after this. So that's amazing. It's 6 o'clock for you in California. Maybe you've already got it in, but I hope to inspire you to move. In this webinar tonight, I'm going to share a bit of my journey with bipolar. Then I'm going to get a little bit sciencey into the how and why exercise works and which types are best to improve and stabilize mood. And we're also going to brainstorm together ways to motivate ourselves to move when we are depressed, because I know how hard it can be. It can be hard to get out of bed, let alone to get to the gym. I've been a fitness instructor for 26 years, which is almost as long as I've lived with bipolar disorder. But my relationship with movement started well before that. I've always used exercise as a way to manage my mood, minimize my episodes, and just feel more grounded. And that's even before I knew where these shifts in mood were coming from and why they were coming. I love all kinds of movement. I'm probably an exercise junkie, whether that's good or bad, but my biggest passion is cycling. For me, it's more than a workout, it's therapy. It's social connection because I ride with a bike club. It's nature time out there in the woods. It's a confidence boost because generally I feel like I'm kind of good at it. And let's be honest, pedaling your bike is fun. It makes you feel like a kid again. So I can't see the chat, but maybe Caroline could read out some of these answers. I'd love you all to take a moment and type in the chat, what kind of movement makes you feel good? And it doesn't matter if you're not doing it currently. Just think of a time when an activity or a sport lifted your spirits. And then, Caroline, can I pass the mic to you to read out some of those comments?
Absolutely, yeah. Feel free to put them in the chat. I'll say right now yoga for
Oh, I can see them actually. They're
oh,
coming up
perfect.
actually. Melissa is kayaking. That's amazing. Uh, Dancing, stretching, boogie, hiking, cycling, boxing, swimming. All kinds of things are pouring in. I walk a lot in the evening, weights, cardio, pickleball, the fastest growing sport, Pilates, if any more come in. Okay, so that was a really good variety, wasn't it? That just shows that what one person enjoys isn't the same. We had everything out there like kayaking, pickleball, Pilates, weights, walking, everything came up there. So there's something for everybody that you enjoy in the past and maybe want to get back to, or that you're currently doing. So I'll get a little bit into my story. I was always active as a kid, but fitness really became a thing for me in my teens. I'd come home from school and pop in a VHS of Jane Fonda. If you know who she is, you might have worn the same neon leg warmers I did in the 1980s. If you don't know who she is, think of her as the original fitness influencer, but pre Instagram. And if you don't know what a VHS is, I'm going to say at your age, thank you for having the emotional intelligence for showing up today. I love this younger generation. I have two kids in their 20s, and their openness towards mental health gives me so much hope that our future treatment and acceptance towards mental illness will be vastly improved from what it has been, especially when I was really experiencing it in the 90s. Somebody says here they're older, so you must know who Jane Fonda is then, right? So back to my teen years. In my mid-teens, as I said, I had always been active, but something started to shift. I'd always been a happy kid, a little bit anxious, a little bit sensitive, but generally content and living a good upper middle class life with loving parents. And full disclosure, my loving parents are tuning in tonight. So they are here watching this webinar. So I have to say loving parents, but it's true. But with all of that, you'd think nothing should really be wrong. But my brain felt heavy and slow. I didn't want to do my usual sports or hang out with my friends or do anything really. I forced myself to go to school because anxiety kept me from skipping. I didn't want to disappoint anyone because I was, and actually still am, a people pleaser. I knew I shouldn't be having these negative and sometimes scary thoughts that I was having, but I didn't know how to ask for help. So instead, I did a cry for help. I go into a lot more detail in my book, but I planned and tried, I'm going to use quotations here, a suicide attempt. And I use quotes because I didn't want to die. In fact, as I swallowed the pills, I did everything to ensure help would be on the way. There is some humor in this story because I would have been fine anyways. Because it turns out that the pills I took from my parents' medicine cabinet were diuretics, which are water pills, and antibiotics. I mean, the internet wasn't invented yet. I didn't know what they were, and I couldn't exactly ask a pharmacist. So months later, I finally got an appointment to see a psychiatrist. I'm in Canada, and currently the average wait time for a referral to a psychiatrist is 1 year. Here, we don't have the option of private insurance for psychiatry. In the US, I believe you have both aspects, but correct me if I'm wrong when we go to our Q&A. We can here pay to see a therapist or a psychologist, but if we need medication, it needs to be started from a psychiatrist. So by the time I got to see this psychiatrist, by then I was on the drama club and the gymnastics team, and I was acing my classes. Life was full of sparkles again. And this is why I called my book A Sparkling Tornado. So I told the doctor I was fine, and I only went to one appointment. Some of you may see where this is going. And so began the cycles. At age 23, I had my first hospitalization after a more serious suicide attempt. 2 weeks later, they sent me home with antidepressants. And anybody with bipolar knows what can happen with that. With antidepressants, I was quickly swung into hypomania. So I felt great. So I quit them because, hey, I'm feeling amazing till the next depression. After another hospitalization a few months later, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. But back then, there was no internet or TikTok or Instagram to learn or to see who else has this and to pick up these tidbits of information. The hospital literally gave me a pamphlet. I think it was titled, "So, you have bipolar disorder." So I went to the library to try to learn more because that's what we did then, right? I took out a big, bright yellow book, Bipolar Disorder for Dummies. Yep. And that book still exists to this day. And it's actually not that bad. So, reading it, at first I felt relief. Everything I read sounded like me. So, maybe now, if we know what's wrong with my brain, it can be fixed. I would like, again, to take a moment. I always like to know you're still with me, to type in the chat if you have a diagnosis, how you felt when you got that diagnosis. Or do you even think it's important to have a name for symptoms? It's starting to be that, people are starting to talk about, is a label a good thing? So I'm really curious about that, what people think about having a label, if they have one, if they like it or not, or if they think it should even be part of it. I see I don't do labels coming up. Yeah. For me, it gave me something to work with, and others relieved, but also sad, knowing it can be lifelong. Bipolar is manageable, but lifelong. Let's see if anything else pops up in the chat. I knew in advance that I had manic depression, so it was just a confirmation. And yeah, that's what it was called until I want to say around the late 80s, maybe. And they changed the name to bipolar. Labels are helpful in as much as they open doors to resources and insight. And that is my thought of it as well, for me personally, too. But everybody can have their own opinion and choice on that. So for me, with the diagnosis of bipolar, um, yeah, a few more are coming in. Yeah, I have that, but that's not who I am. And that's a really good point. I don't ever say I'm bipolar. People don't, say I'm cancer. People say I have cancer or I have bipolar. I have depression. That is saying that this is something that has happened to you. Exactly. Yes. Um, and with bipolar, there's different diagnosis, as somebody's saying. Is it bipolar 1? Is it bipolar 2? Is it cyclothymia? I've been diagnosed with both bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. And I've stopped caring about that number in the end. It just is. This is me. I'm a sparkling tornado with bipolar disorder. So, with a diagnosis of bipolar, they started on what is called the gold standard of medications, and usually the first line trial, lithium. I took lithium, I responded great, kicked in, and I stabilized. It's a mood stabilizer. I stabilized. And I thought, so they must have been wrong. I feel just fine. So, I stopped the medication that I now know was the reason I was feeling fine. Unfortunately, I went through years of this. Take medication, feel better. Go off medication, end up in hospital. Repeat cycle. If anybody remembers the movie Groundhog Day from years ago, it was Groundhog Day. Some of my hospitalizations were on what we call here in Canada a Form 1, an involuntary admission. I believe in the US, it's often called a 5150. Am I correct with that? Yeah, I got thumbs up. So, yeah, and it means that, it wasn't your choice, but in hindsight, I often recognize later on it was the correct thing to have happen. In that stage, you're usually not in the frame of mind to say, this is what I should do. So, in those years, I had a bright spot though. And that bright spot was the gym at the YMCA. I wasn't working and I was on disability, so money was tight. But I had a social worker called Karen, somebody I'll never forget. She did a lot for me. One of the things was she got me a subsidized membership at the YMCA. And when I wasn't in hospital, I was at the Y. The group fitness classes made me feel normal. Nobody there knew about my mental illness. I was just another person dancing in step class or pumping weights. We all had the same goal for that hour. But still, ages 23 to 26 were hard, really hard. At one point, after two more suicide attempts and probably a dozen hospitalizations, honestly, I don't even know, my psychiatrist began to talk about long term care. And I was terrified. I think I need to move a sip of my cup of calm tea from this point. Cup of calm. From what I would hear from other patients, because you get to know these revolving door patients, was that once you go into long term care, you don't come out. So, as a last effort, I decided to try ECT, electroconvulsive therapy, also known as electric shock. I don't know if anyone here has experienced it, but despite what you see in movies, it wasn't scary and it worked. I started to lift out of depression. After 12 treatments, I got a part time job at a clothing store. That might not sound like a big deal, but for me, it was huge. I hadn't finished college or any of the businesses that I'd started during manic episodes. Somehow, my businesses always involved paint. One was I bought a bunch of straw hats and painted them, thinking people would buy them and hang them on their walls. Another time, I went to a secondhand store, bought a bunch of used furniture, bought a big sea sponge and a bunch of blue paint, and covered all the furniture with blue sponge paint. And then a month later, depressed, having not sold anything, returned all the blue sponge paint furniture back to the store. I don't know if they ever recognized that it was the same furniture that was sold a month ago, but they got it all back. So now I'm pretty going back to working at the clothing store. I'm pretty stable. I've actually now moved, and a 4 week outpatient program at the hospital was suggested to me. It was the next step towards the potential of an improved life, towards the life I wanted to get to. At the end of the 4 weeks, we were asked to plan our next step: a job, schooling, volunteer work. But I couldn't think of anything I was qualified to do or that the stress level wouldn't break me. Bipolar is a very stress sensitive illness. And I remember with tears in my eyes, I said to the occupational therapist, "There's nothing I can do." "Well, what do you like to do?" she asked. I thought, "I like working out, but that's not a job." She looked at me and confidently said, "Of course it is," and helped me register for a personal training course. That moment changed my life. Before that, it had never occurred to me that me, little fragile bipolar Sandra, could be one of those personal trainers crouched over their client, coaching them through a plank. Or even better, that I could be the fitness instructor leading a group of people through a class that would make their day better. After that personal training course, I was hired part time at the Y. And with this, I built up confidence and I kept learning. Over the next 2 years, I became certified in group fitness, yoga, Pilates, and aquafit. I was getting paid to do something that increased my dopamine, balanced my serotonin, and lowered my cortisol levels. We're going to talk about all of those in a moment and what you can do to get more of them. But first, I want to make sure that you're still awake and you're still with me. So we're going to do 5 minutes of movement. But before we do that, we're going to do a little, you guys probably know this, but I can't remember if it's a CBT or a DBT, a cognitive behavioral therapy or a dialectical behavioral therapy exercise. But so before we do this 5 minutes of moving, just take a moment to think out of 10, with one being you feel really crappy, 10 being you feel amazing. So at this moment, rate yourself out of that and remember this number because we're going to come back to this. Caroline, because I was worried about the tech aspect of this, thank you for helping me.
Yeah, of course.
Um, can you? Oh, some people are already putting their numbers in that. I saw a 9, I saw a 2, a 3. I'm hoping we can bring these numbers up. They're all over the place, but can you please play this 5 minute YouTube at your desk exercise video, feel free to turn your cameras off because we're going to be squatting and standing up and doing a few different things. So feel free to turn your camera off as
We're
the
going to take the
video
next
comes through.
5 minutes to move. Are you able to hear it? Sorry.
I hear it, but I don't see it.
Oh. Screen sharing. How about now? Able to see it? We're going to take the next 5 minutes to move our bodies. Are others able to see it? Let me stop and try doing it again.
This was why I was worried about,
Yeah.
I see the lady. Okay, so you see somebody, so maybe because I'm in presenter mode, I can't. But everybody else can see a fitness
I can
person.
see, yeah.
Okay, all right. I'll play it now. Help recharge us, to help us power through the rest of the day. So let's just start with some up, down,
the lady picture is
swings.
me.
So swing the arms up towards the ceiling and then down, up and down.
Are we seeing her going up and down? No, the lady you see is me without the red hair. Maybe that, because I turned off my screen.
And just continue here. Loosen up through your shoulders and your chest.
No one? Yes. Okay. We're going to go with it. Otherwise, listen to her and do your best. All right. 5 minutes of movement.
Okay, I'm going to play it now. These up, down, arm swings. Of course, breathe through the movement here. Inhale and exhale. A few more arm swings, up and down, up and down. Let's do 3 more. 1, 2, and 3. Let's move into something for the lower body. I want you to take a nice long split stance here. Right leg is in front. You're going to bend through that knee. And the leg that's in the back, the left knee, I just want you to bring it forward and back, forward and back. Some power knees. And speed it up as you feel comfortable. If you don't feel comfortable speeding it up, just take it slow. But again, we want to recharge ourselves. So if you're able to, speed those power knees up just a little bit. Give me a few more on this side. Bring that knee forward and back, forward and back. 3 more. 1, 2, and 3. Shake out the legs. You may have felt a little burn in that front leg. That's perfectly normal. Same thing, other side. So nice long split stance here. Bend into that front knee. Whatever leg is in the back, power knee. Okay, so knee comes forward and back. So you're just tapping the toe back down towards the floor before you bring that knee back to the front. Forward, back, and pace this to wherever you feel comfortable. You can go a little bit slower or really recharge and go a little bit quicker. A few more. 3 more on this side. 1, 2, and 3. Back to the upper body with some lateral arm swings. Arms are out at the side. You're just going to swing the arms forward and back. And take notice, make sure you're alternating what arm goes on top each time you give yourself that hug. Okay, just forward and back arm swings. We did up down arm swings before. Now we're doing some lateral arm swings. Out and then in. Keep it right here, swinging those arms. Another one to loosen up through the upper body, the shoulders, the chest, the upper back. Give me about 10 more seconds with these, and then we'll move into something for both the lower body and the upper body. Let's go for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. All right, next one up, we're just going to do alternating step backs with a side bend. So I want you to step the left leg back as you reach that left arm up towards the ceiling and lean to the right. And then come back up through center, bring that right leg back, raise the right arm up as you lean to the left. And that's where you're going to be. Alternate stepping back and adding a little upward reach and lean to the side. So whatever leg you're stepping back, that's the arm you reach up
and you're gonna lean in the opposite direction. So if your left arm comes up, you're gonna lean to the right and vice versa on the other side. Okay, so step back, reach up, and lean. A few more. And moving through our lower body, stretching through the hips a little bit with that step back, and stretching and moving through our upper body and obliques with that upward reach and lean. Good. Let's do one more on each side. Step back and side bend, step back and side bend. Come back through center, and let's do a quick burst through each movement that we just did. So a few up-down arm swings, just a few. We're not gonna spend as long as we did the first time through. Two more, 1 and 2, our power knees. A few on the one side, draw that knee forward and back, forward and back. 3, 2, and 1. We've got to even ourselves out. Same thing, other side. Forward and back. Good. 3, 2, and 1. Few lateral arm swings. Remember, alternate what arm comes on top each time. And after this, we just have those step backs with a side bend, and then we will be done. Our recharge in 5. Hopefully you feel better already. One more. Good. All right, last on up. Step back and add that side bend. Step back, add that side bend. Just a few here. Okay. Moving through the lower body and the upper body. One more each side. Come back through center, and as always, let's wrap on up with a big inhale and exhale. Inhale your arms up towards the ceiling. Exhale your arms down towards the floor. And there you go. A quick 5 minutes to help recharge you to power through the rest of your day.
Okay, so now we can hear me again?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So I said that I was going to ask you for those numbers again after you did your exercise. Okay, so it was up to 10, but Isabella's at 12 now. Awesome. She was on screen working. 12 out of 10. That's great. Was 8. Okay, 10. See, our numbers going up. 4, I don't know. Whoa, 4 is not great. 6 to 7. Excellent. Okay. Good. See about a 2-point increase. So that was just 5 minutes. And that's something that can be done at our desk as well, too, right? Like in the middle of the workday, that was just a 5-minute break, which was really easy. Give me 1 second here because I had before this, I was looking at my notes and where did they go? I need to just this is my first time um, actually being a presenter on here. There we go. There's my notes back. So I appreciate your patience with this. Nope, just lost them again. There we are. Okay, so that's great. So we did that quick YouTube video. And now I want to talk a little bit about what we're going to call, oh, a 4 is great for me. And here I am like a 4 is great. Yes, okay. We all have our own range. And one time this was asked at I was at, I don't know, a dinner party, and somebody said, when you wake up in the morning, what do you typically feel out of 10? And people gave their numbers and I couldn't think. And my husband was beside me and he said, well, she's either a 1 or a 12. So I guess that kind of shows how numbers can change. I am going to try to share my screen because as we talk about the science behind the sweat, I want to have PowerPoint. So I've made myself little notes here. So I need to go to more host tools. And I'm working off of two screens here. So where is my, I don't know how I know which screen to share, actually. What do you guys see? Do you see the science behind the sweat, or do you see me?
Just you so far, no screen.
I wonder, do I move it? Okay. So you see me, yes.
Do you see
Uh,
the share button on the bottom?
I did the share on the, let's see, share, here, screen one, share. This should work. And now, do you see a person with a dumbbell working?
Yes, we do.
All right, the science behind the sweat. Okay, so, and then I need to, and there we go. Yeah, and my screen has changed to neurotransmitters.
Yes, it has.
Okay, I know what I'm doing then. Thank you. So neurotransmitters, we've probably heard of these words. I like to think of them as basically your feel-good hormones, and these are something that we want more of. Exercise increases your serotonin, and probably people have heard of the antidepressants, that the SSRIs, what is it, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, and they help increase the serotonin in your brain. But so can exercise. It also increases dopamine, norepinephrine, and endorphins. And these are all our good things. These are all essential for mood regulation. So we want more of these. This guy looks kind of stressed. This guy, he has too much cortisol going on in his body. So cortisol is a stress hormone. It does have a purpose. Ideally, when we wake up in the morning, it's high and it wakes us up and it gets us going and ready for our day. And throughout the day, it lowers. And by the time it's evening and we're wanting to go to bed, our cortisol is lower and we're ready to sleep because we're more relaxed. But if we're constantly in fight and flight and stress, and a lot of us are running on that all day, it becomes dysregulated, the cortisol. It doesn't know when to be putting it out more. And elevated cortisol affects sleep, it affects mood, digestion, weight. Really, it affects everything. And exercise can help with regulating those cortisol levels. Sleep, if only we could all sleep like a cat sleeps, right? My slides are moving, right? You see a cat.
Yes.
Okay. You see a cute kitty cat, right? So sleep. Exercise improves our circadian rhythm, and our circadian rhythm is what our natural cycle should be, right? It goes by dark and lightness and melatonin production. So it improves that circadian rhythm. Or you could think like of a teenager. Their circadian rhythm and its normal is completely different. That's why they want to stay up until 2 a.m. and sleep until noon. That's how it is, actually. Exercise can also improve sleep quality. And we all know with a mood disorder that sleep is a huge impact. I know for me personally, if I have 2 nights of poor sleep, I feel myself, ironically, because I'm tired, but starting to elevate. And I have sleep medication for when I need it. And that's when I know after 2 nights of that, no amount of yoga is going to help. I am going to need that, get a good night's sleep, and then the next day I'm a new person. Now I have a question. It's a kind of a little poll I'm doing actually, and you can type in the chat again, please. I have this question because my cycling club is at night. And when I cycle at night, I am revved up afterwards. I can't sleep. I've got the adrenaline going because I'm doing mountain biking. And it's midnight and I'm still excited. And I was saying this to somebody I ride with, and he said, "Oh, these are the best night sleeps on these nights." So I'm curious if you guys exercise in the evening, how do you sleep after that? Obviously, we're all different. Either I'm not seeing the chat or you're slow typing. Okay, I can't see the chat.
It looks like a lot
Caroline?
of people are saying, yes, they sleep better. Let's see, sleep great after exercising. I work out at 4 a.m. I prefer
4
exercise.
a.m.?
4 a.m., yes.
Okay.
I prefer exercise in the day and walk slow at night. I sleep well after a night of yoga. I'm an early morning exerciser. Yes, I do sleep pretty well. Walk around 5:30. Exercise helps me sleep more easily with evening workout. Sleep great after walking at night. I have energy at night, so I walk longer.
Awesome. Okay, thank you for doing that. So exercise also helps with confidence and social connection. Moving your body builds confidence, right? Like especially, we're going to shortly get into what types of exercise specifically can help with what types of moods. But strength training has been shown to help with confidence because think about it, if you're doing weights, you know you can open that jar or you can lift that heavy box. You feel confident about it. It combats isolation, or certain types of exercise do. I know how hard it can be to get moving, to even get out of bed when you're feeling low. Showering can feel like a challenge. But if you can manage a short walk, you just tell yourself 10 minutes around the block, that small win is huge. That matters. And who knows, maybe you're out and you run into your neighbor and she's walking her dachshund and stops to chat. So you get some social connection with her. And then the dog rolls over for a little belly scratch. And who can't laugh at a dachshund with their short little legs and their long bodies, right? It just feels good. I chose this photo because it's from my first long cycling event. It was a fundraiser for cancer, and it was 140 miles over 2 days. And I'd never done that before. And the second day, it was raining and it was cold, and my legs were cramping from the cold, and I was crying. But when I crossed that finish line, I felt amazing. I was like, wow, I did this. I am amazing. And it built confidence. I guess enough confidence that I did it for 4 more years. And doing it as a group with friends was really nice, right? It also had that social connection. One thing to mention with exercise, and especially because this is a depression and bipolar support, the California Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance, with bipolar, caution with exercise does need to be cautioned during mania or hypomania because it can be overstimulating, right? That's when you want to start taking away stimuli. And also, you can be feeling so great that you're just doing so much that you might even lead yourself to injury. Some quick practical takeaways from this, and then we'll get into what types of exercise. And we will have a brainstorming session coming up shortly. Easy takeaways, they say aim to 3 to 5 sessions per week. I'm going to say do what you can. There's going to be times where you can do 5 sessions a week, no problem. There are going to be times where maybe 3, you're having to really drag yourself out there and it's at a lower intensity, but you're still out there. I'm going to be honest with you all because you all understand this. This last 3 weeks, I've been in a bit of a slump and a bit of a low, and I haven't really been doing much with other people, but I've been going for slow bike rides. And I have several bikes, but I got an e-bike and I call it my mental health bike because when I'm not feeling up to much, I go out on that e-bike, and it doesn't take as much effort from me, but it's still enough effort in its nature. So I've been struggling a little bit to get myself out there, but I've been pushing myself because I know that number goes up afterwards. Intensity, actually, for mood disorders, moderate intensity has been shown to be best, not high intensity. Um, Sometimes it may need to be lower. As I said, I've dropped my intensity these last couple of weeks, but I'm still getting out. What type? I'm going to say choose what you enjoy, even though we're going to get into types. There's an expression that I heard on a podcast, and it was EFR. And they mentioned it a few times, and I didn't know what it was. And then I learned it was exercise fun ratio. So pick what has the highest EFR for you. What gives you the best exercise fun ratio? That's what we want. And consistency, that's what matters more than intensity, being consistent. I actually would love if people could turn on their mics now, because I'd like you to kind of just shout out some answers for this next little bit I'm going to do. So we're going to talk about what types help us. I'm just seeing now, I'm sharing my screen, but I've got like my whole screen on. I should probably make that into a full screen. Well, you guys just see down there. That's no big deal. So let's just imagine we're out for a walk in nature. And you have probably many of you heard of this mindfulness exercise where you take into account your five senses to try to be more present or to get out of that ruminating head. So our five senses are smell, taste, hearing, feeling, and smell, taste, hearing, and seeing, of course. So let's all imagine we're out for a walk in nature, and please feel free to put on your mic and shout it out or type it in the chat. What, when you're out for nature walk, do you smell?
Jasmine.
Jasmine. Nice.
Grass.
Grass, fresh cut grass.
Pine trees. Smell.
Pine trees.
All acacia and
fresh air.
Smell the air.
Air, yeah.
I can smell the air and the wind. That's what I smell.
The air and the wind. Yeah, it has a smell.
linden and acacia flowers. From
Flowers.
The tree.
Awesome. So that was what we smell. What do you feel when you're out for a walk in nature, physically, on your body?
Grounded.
Calm.
Breeze.
Like
Feel
the
calm.
breeze. Yeah. So what can you feel on you? The breeze?
Rain.
Yes. The wind.
Heat.
Warmth, yeah, sun.
Sun, yeah.
And cool air.
Yeah.
Cool.
Maybe your shoes. Yes, right. Okay, so we have done smell and feel. What do you see when you're out for a walk in nature?
I see the moon. People.
Eucalyptus trees.
I don't see that.
The
Birds.
trees, the lake.
I see
Birds.
the clouds.
I see the moon.
The
Hawks,
moon.
crows, hummingbirds.
And what do you hear?
Flowers.
What can you hear?
Birds.
Birds.
And hear the wind still.
Doves and hoot owls.
And the trees moving.
Insects.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots to hear. Now, this is always a harder one, but it's part of the five senses of mindfulness. What do you taste?
My lozenger.
What?
Yeah, it's a harder one. Sometimes,
That's
sometimes it's, I don't know, whatever you ate for dinner, you still have that taste. Sometimes it's you brushed your teeth and the freshness of the teeth. It's a bit of a harder one. Sometimes you didn't brush your teeth and you're thirsty and it's stale, right? So, yeah, that was just a little mindfulness exercise. Next time you're out for a walk, stop for a moment and think of those five senses. Okay, another exercise, yoga and Tai Chi. This is probably self-explanatory, right? It relaxes us. It reduces cortisol. It boosts GABA, and GABA is a neurotransmitter that helps with calming the mind. It's been shown that people who have anxiety often produce less GABA, actually. And I do think there's a prescription medication, gabapentin, that is prescribed for anxiety because it increases GABA. Of course, I had to put cycling in here. So cycling can be very rhythmic and grounding, right? Your pedals are just going one after the other, and it's a moving meditation, especially if you're maybe on a gravel road and it's just this constant motion. But I wanted to put in here mountain biking because it's very different. It's for me, it's adrenaline and it's confidence, a completely different feeling. We talked about strength training being a confidence booster, knowing that you can do heavy stuff. And it increases your dopamine.
Yes, it feels good. Just pick up the weights and push. It's adrenaline too.
It
uncomfortable.
is because it's a challenge, right? Can I do
Yes.
this? Can I do this weight?
And just the weight's
Exactly.
higher, and you're just like, yes.
It feels
Yes.
good, yeah.
So dance, right? Dance like
Oh, I love
nobody's
dancing.
watching. It's joy, connection, music. There's a lot from the movement of dance we can get. And I don't know if there's any runners here, but we've probably all heard about the runner's high and it producing endorphins. I hate running, so I don't get this, but a lot of people love it. So these are some examples of what different types of exercise can give us. So before we get to the brainstorming for ways to motivate ourselves when we're struggling, I have just a couple more things to go through. I wanted to give you some quotes of some people who we probably have heard of. Dwayne Johnson, I think he works out a little bit. Yeah, he seems to have some muscles. Training is my anchor. It's my therapy.
Yeah.
Ellie Goulding, I don't know how to pronounce, but she's been open about her postpartum depression. In my book, I do talk about a postpartum depression I had with my first son. But she said, exercise saved my life.
Yes.
Stephen Fry, he has cyclothymia, which is a form of bipolar. Exercise keeps the black dog at bay. And we may have heard the
Yes.
depression referred to as the black dog. Yes. Russell Brand, comedian Russell Brand, yoga and running saved my life. And he has bipolar. So interesting, we see in there twice, saved my life, right? So before our brainstorming session, I just want to get into, because as I was putting this presentation together, especially because I was feeling a little bit low, I thought, I'm an imposter. Like here I am talking like I have it all together and I know everything and, these are the things to do. And I had that imposter syndrome. My book is titled A Memoir of Living and Thriving-ish with Bipolar because I don't claim to be perfect. I'm thriving-ish, not 100% perfect, but doing all right. But just to say, even with all these tools I've used, I wanted to go back to in 2022, I made a decision to go off my medication. I felt good. It had been a while since I'd been in hospital. You know what? Let me give this a try. Well, a few months later in 2023, I was back in hospital with a deep suicidal depression. So after 27 years of relative stability, I was back in grippy socks on the psych ward. If you don't know the term grippy socks, it's, they take away your shoes, right? So, and you're given these large one size, so too big for my size 7 feet socks with grippy soles. So it's called grippy socks. But this time I noticed something was different from years ago. This time the hospital had daily exercise. They actually had a gym that we could use as a group brought down with nurses, not just on our own, but they had a gym. And if it wasn't the gym day, the other day was a yoga session. So I think it's amazing that the medical professionals, the hospital was recognizing the importance of exercise. So there you have it. That's the story, the science, the strategy behind how movement can help manage depression and bipolar. I'm not saying that exercise replaces meds or therapy. I still use both. But movement is a core pillar of my wellness plan. And I hope that it is or will become part of yours too. And I'm wondering if maybe we can open mics. We'll do a Q&A, but I wanted to brainstorm a bit with people because I know probably many of you have struggled to be active, especially in low times. And I'd love to know, not me giving them, but what tips you guys have to share on how to be active and move and exercise.
When I'm tired sometimes, really tired, and I don't feel motivated, or if I skipped a day working out, sometimes I'll dress my workout clothes and go to bed for the next day.
My thing is that I do it anyway. I walk no matter what because if I don't, I'll feel worse. And so I always usually feel better, but if I don't feel better, that's okay because just knowing I went for a walk in itself. So either way, it's a win-win.
For me, it has to be a group exercise. I will run out of motivation on my own, but if I'm part of a group, there's kind of an expectation of, or a holding accountable, and it's social. It's fun. I get to know people. I look forward to going, just not only to exercise, but to see my friends too.
Go ahead.
I think Amy, your hand is up.
Oh yeah. Sometimes I'll do like I did now and just like get dressed for the activity, and then I'm more likely to follow through and go. So I dressed for the gym before I came to this presentation, and I figured you would help me get motivated. And if I was already dressed, I would just go.
Excellent. Yeah. Tony has his hand up.
I find setting a goal, and I have a goal for each week of the amount of exercise activity that I want to do, and I find just having that goal. I wear a Garmin watch, and I make a point, and since January I've managed to meet it every week, so it makes me feel good just having that goal and kind of working towards it. So that helps me.
Awesome. Wendy, your hand's up.
Yeah, so I lead a class called Boogie with the BCC. That's the Blind Community Center, because I'm in the blind community as well. So it literally forces me every Monday to get to class and lead the class. And so it's also been awesome because I get to explore different genres of music that I wouldn't really have ever explored because my class is of such diverse generations. So it's really been awesome. Like, it's some of the best cardio I really get during the week is my class. So I just I have to suit up and show up, and it's really been awesome.
Cool. Yeah. Any other ideas or suggestions?
Well, I have from a senior center twice a week exercise, but if my sleep is not okay, then 10:30 in the morning is not okay. So I wait for the other class, which is a Sunday class, 11 o'clock, and that I usually make it. Also, I think I have someplace saved a recording of that lady, so I can always do that. But while I'm talking, I like to know that 5 minutes of this wonderful exercise that was shown. I think you were the one in the video. Can that be watched on the YouTube, and where can that be watched?
Caroline, are you able to share that link afterwards with people?
Yes, I'm able to put it in the chat. I'll put it in right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was just so if there's no more ideas, I'd love to hear some if there is. Otherwise, we can open it up for a Q&A if anybody has any questions for me about either Surabi. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Okay.
Yeah. I recently saw that my city's local gym and recreational center had a gym and swimming pool. And although I've been here for a while, I recently invested in a gym membership there because I felt comfortable with that it seemed to have more people of different body sizes, like a diversity of people as well as body sizes. And I feel comfortable there. And yeah.
Yeah, it's important to find where you're comfortable, right? Because not all gyms are the same. Yeah.
Sandra, are you gonna use your screen share anymore? Maybe we'll just put it back up to you.
Oh,
instead of the...
yes, you can.
It's nice
okay,
to
I've
see
just
you
stopped
up
it. Thank you.
I am going to stop the recording while we get into the Q&A.
That's right. Yeah. We don't even need the recording.
Okay. So you're still seeing my